God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love that God only knows.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 50 of Your Journey is Not Over. My name is Tanya Pearson Randolph. This is my own personal journey, and the expressions and opinions are of my own. I own all the rights to my personal journey and to Your Journey is Not Over. Neither are to be used, copied, or edited in any way without my consent. Well, I'm going to start at the very beginning of the recent part of my journey, the last 2.5 years. April 1st, 2023, I came home from work. Life was normal. It was calm, safe, and peaceful. My husband came home from work and he handed me a piece of paper. Once I began to read it, and it started out, in the event of my death, my wishes are that there were 5 people and the names listed, and it read, "Do not attend any services for me." It was dated, made out, and signed by my husband, even notarized. Mind you, this piece of paper will come into play, and I will even explain it in great detail later on. But at that moment in time, I was like, what is this? Why did you do this? We didn't even know my husband was sick at this time. No clue. So this piece of paper given to me seemed so random, so out of the blue to me. He told me those are my wishes, and no matter what, if I live to be 100 years old, I want my wishes followed, Tanya. Promise me you will follow my wishes. Seeing how important this was to my husband and how serious he was, and even in the event of his death, I would have to be the one to share this and tell his wishes to those 5 people on that paper. I promised him. So he told me to put it away somewhere safe so that I would know exactly where it was. Even though confused, I did exactly that. A few mornings later, we were doing our morning routine, sitting at our kitchen table drinking coffee together and just chatting about what lay ahead for both of our days. And knowing my gifts, my husband knew me better than anyone. There was nothing hidden between us. And he was very spiritual too. So he said, "Hey, I had this dream last night. I was wondering what it means." So I was like, "Okay, what was the dream?" He said he'd seen his grandpa, his uncle, his aunt, and his son was holding our Shih Tzu, whose name was Fair, but we called her Prissy Girl as a nickname. All of his family members that he mentioned were all deceased, and he told me they were just standing there smiling at him. I lost my breath, and I immediately went to our kitchen sink so that my back was to him. Instinctively, I knew what that dream could quite possibly mean, but I didn't want to share it with him. Truly, I was hoping my intuition was wrong. I immediately started talking to God, asking him, "Please, no. Don't let it mean what I think it means." I had been experiencing a heavy feeling. Best way I can describe it is a huge sense that something bad was about to happen. My whole life, I've had this intuition, this foresight of just knowing deep within my soul something bad is coming. Again, just a real heavy feeling of dread and doom. Well, right after this morning, I got a call from my youngest daughter that her dad, my ex-husband, was in a car wreck on his way to work. It was a pretty severe wreck and his car was totaled, but he came out of it with no serious injuries. Thank goodness he had an angel sent by God to protect him that morning. I do remember after I got off the phone with my daughter, I took a deep breath and I said to myself, that's why the heavy feeling I've been feeling for the last couple of weeks. Almost relieved because whatever bad, well, it happened and he came out of it with no injuries. Again, relief. So I assumed, like my whole life, once whatever happens, well, that heavy feeling, it normally lifts off of me Not this time. It stayed. A few episodes back, I spoke about the first symptoms of my husband's bladder cancer, the procedure done to do the biopsy, and the drainage tube put in his bag to drain his left kidney. The tumor inside his bladder was so massive that it blocked that kidney from draining completely. So when he came home from those procedures, he had a drainage tube and a catheter. And we had an appointment June 6, 2023, for surgery to remove the entire bladder, along with the cancer, to save my husband's life. We were still so very hopeful. Well, mid-May, I came home from work, and my husband's truck wasn't in the driveway. His work truck was here, but his personal truck wasn't. So, no big deal. He must have gotten off work, and I assume he probably went to run some errands. Yes, he went back to work with 2 drainage tubes and bags connected to him. You must know my husband to even begin to understand that. Let's just say, dedicated is an understatement. When he did get home later on that evening, he told me he had went and visited with some family and had a talk with them. In the event he would not survive this, he expressed his wishes. I think to give me reinforcement in the event of his death. That way others would hear straight from him, his voice, his words, his wishes, and exactly what that notarized piece of paper that he had given to me April 1st said, expressing those to be his wishes to anyone that would listen. I did ask him, please tell me you didn't discuss our life insurance, did you? He said, well, yeah. I looked at him and I told him, you just screwed me completely. He said, how is that? I said back to him, because of the life insurance and the fact that everyone was all about my husband's wallet and the money in his wallet, and the need to control my husband and his money, even before we got together almost 8 years prior. The resistance by others when we first got together, and by those that were gladly living their own lives, doing what they please in life and with who they wanted to be with. And I have to add, couldn't even control and manage their own lives, but wanted so desperately to control my husband and his life. Like they had been given the power to do ever since my husband was 15 years old. One of those people was used since birth to maintain some kind of control, power over my husband. After my husband and I got together, not even blackmail could keep control over my husband. He broke those chains, built solely by lies and deception, and stepped into, for the first time in his life, the boss of his life, how he wanted to live. Nobody else's opinion mattered. By the way, true friends and true family will always be happy for you, no matter what. A new relationship, a new job, a new truck or car, no matter what the situation. Real people, not people that have hidden agendas or a use for you in some way, will always be happy for you. So I told my husband, thanks a lot because you chose to share that. If ever I need help with you, I won't get it. You sealed that for me. The almighty dollar was all that some people could focus on. Sad but true. And yes, I foreseen exactly what I said. It was exactly how it played out, too. At the last days of my husband's life, he told me, you was right. Not knowing what he was talking about, I asked, I was right about what? He refreshed my memory about this exact conversation. Like I told him, I never wanted to be right. In fact, I prayed I was wrong. I prayed those very people would prove me wrong. It didn't happen, sadly for my husband. I seen through others' intentions and motives from the beginning of our relationship, and I knew all along that the need to control my husband and his money that he worked so hard for. Well, that very reason, they were never happy about our relationship from the beginning. And well, since I was going to get paid life insurance, also I had to pay hospital bills, remaining debts, doctor bills, and pay for a funeral. A real nice funeral, too. I spared no expense putting my husband away. My husband deserved the best, and that's exactly what he got, too. So yes, as his wife, I was beneficiary. So since I was going to get paid, well, I could do the job. Take care of my husband by myself. in which that's exactly how it happened too. Until a dear friend of mine called 3 days before he died. I had taken care of him, bathed him, fed him, changed him, gave final haircut. No one else offered to do any of that, or assist, or help me. Yes, there was a lot of call me if you need me or us, but also with the tone of just empty words to make themselves feel good. They offered, right? In a situation like that, let me tell you what I learned. Don't offer, just do. Show up to help, visit, give the caregiver time to step away to do housework, grocery shop, or even to visit so the caregiver can take a small nap. Sleep for me was scarce, an hour, maybe two a night that last month. When I was at work, I could monitor and speak to my husband through cameras that was installed by my son in law. And because of his medicine, he was up all hours of the night, wandering through the house. He even got lost in our bathroom a few times. He was disoriented and didn't know where he was. So I called it follow the leader all night, every night. But he would sleep most of the day, which worked out perfect for me to be able to work and still stay dedicated to my job. My amazing bosses that I had been blessed with worked with me and would redesign my schedule around whatever I needed, just so that I could get my hours in at work. So at work with the cameras, I could work but also monitor his every move. God makes everything possible. I did ask the only person my husband had told me was the only person stipulated that I could ask. I was so tired, wearing down with all that was weighing on me. So I did ask that one person who was here for a normal, quick 15-minute visit a couple times a week. If that person could stay longer, just visit. There's no housework, no meals to cook, never at my house. I was on top of all that. So merely just visit and spend time with my husband, just so I could get a couple-hour nap, take a breath. That person told me, yeah, sure. I went into my bedroom, I got my PJs on, turned my fan on, and I crawled in. I was so tired. I'd hit my brick wall, and to be honest, it was so hard for me to even ask for help that day that I was wore out. After weeks of only a couple hours a night, and at times, not even that, but still trying to carry the same energy. I dozed off, and 35 minutes later, my husband opened our bedroom door, and he told me that person was gone. What? Are you kidding me? Of course, I immediately got back up. Now looking back, and all that was done out of spite and greed, and all because the almighty dollar. While I was desperately trying to help my husband and make his last days on this earth as safe and as pleasant as possible, others were too concerned, like always his whole life, with his money and what I would do with it after he died. They were so focused on that, and because of being spiteful towards me, well, it only hurt my husband. He was aware until his last breath, believe you me. He's seen and heard everything, along with God. Nothing surpassed neither of them, and it was so obvious. Even I, as devastated and as heartbroken, scared, and yet so tired. Well, it sure didn't surpass me neither. To think that people are so consumed by the almighty dollar that obsession and the need to control another is so strong that it takes over the love, the compassion, and the time that others should spend with loved ones that are dying. His money should have never been a thought. Spending time with him should have been their only focus. As I was taught, forgiveness came easy from me to those people that chose to try and make what I was already handling alone even harder. So the question will never be, do I forgive those? Of course, without a doubt. It worked out exactly how it was supposed to. But the question I must ask those that chose to operate out of greed, spite, and doing the devil's work with evil intentions and malice in their heart, will you ever forgive yourself? Now that's a question most will have to answer one day. Someday. Matthew 6, verse 19 through 21. Do not lay up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But lay up treasures for yourself treasures in heaven. Greed is a disorder, love of riches. We should love God above all things and our neighbor as ourselves, that we can begin to love money more than God and more than thy neighbor. Greed is also one of the 7 deadly sins. Proverbs 28, verse 25. The greedy stir up conflict, but those who trust in the Lord will prosper. Timothy 6, verse 10. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil. Corinthians 6, verse 9 and 10. Say, don't you know the unrighteous will not inherit God's kingdom? Greed leads to ruin and destruction, but godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we take nothing out of it, except the love we received and the memories that we made. Those can't be bought. They are priceless. A bird can't fly without wings, and a fish can't swim without water, and a soul can't reach heaven without Jesus. Amen. This concludes my podcast for today. Please join me next Tuesday. Listen in, and always remember, your journey is not over. God bless.
God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. God only knows how it's killing you. But there's a kind of love that God only knows. God only knows what you've been through. God only knows what they say about you. But God only knows the real you. There's a kind of love